Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. I am starting this video off, I guess, a little bit differently than my other ones. I might cry, but it's okay. I'll move through it. It's temporary. I just am letting you know this is the first class I'm filming since my beloved little cat Cleo passed away not long ago at all. I have been wanting to create and to film a fall equinox class. I've had this on my calendar and on my to-do list for months. Sometimes I plan classes spontaneously and sometimes I plan them well in advance. And I knew I wanted to do a fall equinox practice this year. And it just so happens that with timing, not long ago, Cleo passed away. It was peaceful and it was her time, and it is what it is. But of course, as you can probably tell, I am grieving. It's difficult. And there was a part of me that was thinking, I just won't do any classes for a little while. But something that has been really helpful for me is yoga in this time. I have been super diligent about getting on my mat every single day. Sometimes I'm here 2 or 3 times a day getting on my mat. I've noticed that for me, grief is showing up through exhaustion. My energy levels are not what they normally are. I'm normally a very active person, and since she passed away, I don't know, I'm so tired. But I have been getting on my mat regularly. It's been bringing me a lot of comfort. It's a great way for me to, process what it is that I'm going through. But I've also noticed that with grief, there's a lot of tightness in my body. So, physically, grief is showing up for me in exhaustion, but also in feeling super constricted and super tight. And obviously I'm talking a lot, okay? If this is your first time clicking on my video, I'm so sorry. This is not normally what I'm like. I normally get to the point and get to it a lot faster, but obviously this is an anomaly of a video and I'm blabbering on a little bit more. But I did just want to mention that this was a really, I've always felt, believed, and taught that these labels that we have for physical health, mental health, and emotional health, those are just labels that help our brain, to kind of process and categorize things. But in reality, these are not separate entities, they are all woven together. And grief has really shown me that, grief is very much emotional. It's a very difficult emotional time to go through. It affects my mental health for sure. I feel extremely sad, sometimes anxious, but I'm noticing that it has a lot of physical consequences as well. Like, it is very much felt physically through exhaustion and tightness for me. If you're going through hard times, whether it's grief or something else, stress, whatever it may be in your life, you're probably noticing some physical changes and physical manifestations in your body. So that's why I've been kind of turning to my yoga practice as a way to make myself physically, emotionally, and mentally feel better, but also because I know it's a potent and powerful way to heal. So, where does that leave us? I really want to do this fall equinox practice, and I'm going through grief. There's no denying it. So I have settled on this idea of working with the theme of abundance of love. So fall equinox is all about transitions, right? We're moving from summer into fall, big changes. The trees are shedding their leaves. It's symbolic of letting go, but it's also very much a time of bounty, a time of harvest, and a time of gratitude. It is a time of abundance. So it's a time when, you know, the farmers are getting ready. Like we see this, I live in a rural area. The farmers are beginning to harvest from their fields in September and October. So it's a time to gather around, to take stock of what you have, to really be grateful for what you have around you, and to also make room for transition and for change. So I did think maybe there was a way to link this with what I'm going through, and maybe you're going through a time like this in your life as well, where I'm focusing on abundance of love, even though it is tempting for me to focus on what feels like an abundance of loss. You know, this feels like a significant loss. I know that at the end of the day, like, it hurts because there was love there, you know, because it was meaningful and special and something that was important to me, you know, like a little cat that was important to me for 13 years. So it is coming from an abundance of love. So I won't cry throughout the practice. I'm finding it just really hard to verbally explain and get through this intro, but I promise the rest is going to be a little bit better. But that's really what I invite you to focus on now. Whether you're going through a hard time or not, focus on an abundance of love as we enter, you know, this fall season, this new changing time in our lives. Because I am really low energy, this is going to be a really low energy practice. Pretty much all of the poses are going to be done either laying down or seated. So this is a really nice way to open up. We're going to do a little bit of heart opening, chest opening, again, focusing on this abundance of love. So working on this area of the heart and releasing tension from the body. So getting off of the high of summer and getting ready to settle into maybe something a little bit more quiet. Okay, thank you for bearing with me. And again, if you're new to my channel, I promise I don't normally cry when I introduce classes, and I do usually get on with it a lot faster. Good for all levels, no props required. And let's just start in Shavasana, so lying down on our backs. So finding this corpse pose. And I know for me, you know, with this tightness that I'm experiencing, just giving myself this resting pose to begin with helps to release some of that tension in my upper back and in my shoulders. And you can just breathe in and out through your nose. We're really wanting this to be a nourishing and supportive practice. And you can imagine your breath going directly into that space of your heart. Beginning to tap into that abundance of love. And we'll stay reclined, but just lift your arms up so that you're at shoulder height. I like to keep the palms facing up, and we're gonna do a gentle twist from here. So bending into the knees, you can shift your hips a little bit over to the right and just let your legs, knees and thighs drop down over to the left. Really stretch out through your right arm. Symbolically and even physically, we think of twists as being detoxifying poses. They really help to tap into our digestion. And this is very much something that can support us in these seasonal changes. When we think of detox and digestion, we're thinking about letting go of the excess, releasing what doesn't serve us, and making room for something new. I'm gonna add on to this twist. If it's too intense, leave it out. But for a few more breaths, I'm going to straighten my right leg and let that right leg drop. I'm also gonna use my left hand, kind of sliding it down that leg. So we're getting a bigger stretch through the IT band into the hamstrings. You can definitely have a bend in your right knee if keeping the leg totally straight is too much. And I'm gonna go from here right into a reclined hamstring stretch. So I'm gonna lift my right leg all the way up towards the sky, slowly bring that left knee up with you. And you can just join me here. We're gonna interlace the hands behind the back of the leg, wherever is appropriate, and just work on pulling that leg in towards you. And you can choose to keep that left knee bent with the foot flat on the floor, or you can straighten the leg out to start tapping into the hip flexors. Maybe bend and stretch a little bit here, or flex and point through your toes. So how do you want to best support and nourish yourself in this new season? And let's release, come back into Shavasana, take a moment to pause here, recalibrate, feeling the difference from one side to the other. And you can bring your arms up again at that shoulder height, palms facing up. We'll take our reclined twist on the other side. So I'm gonna shift my hips towards the left side of my mat. Knees and thighs will drop over to the right. As much as possible, I'm trying to keep my left shoulder grounded. And if you did it on the first side, you can straighten that top leg so the left leg can straighten, and you can slide your right hand down just to help that leg stay anchored and in place. Usually in my classes, I cue you to breathe deep into your belly and to focus on deep belly breath. And I still want you to do that, but more so, see if you can focus on the breath going into the space of the heart. Whether your heart feels full or if it's a little heartbroken like mine, we're just bringing some gentle awareness and breath to it. Not trying to change it. And we'll come into our hamstring stretch. So you can float that left leg all the way up towards the sky. Bring that right knee up with you and grab a hold to the back of the leg. A little gentle pull here. And you can straighten your right leg if that feels appropriate. Maybe a little bit of bending, flexing and pointing. Even though I've been getting on my mat so much for the past little while, it's like I've never felt tighter in my life. I feel like all my flexibility is gone, but that's okay. Things change, seasons change. This is temporary. For better or worse, it all passes. Back into our corpse pose just for a moment. Letting go in the Shavasana. And we're gonna come up into seated butterfly pose. So however you'd like to get there, soles of the feet will come together, knees will go apart, and we're just gonna fold straight forward. And I'm making this a very passive forward fold. So letting my spine naturally round and just easing my way into it, letting gravity pull me down a little bit deeper. Forward folds can be really good for the parasympathetic nervous system. Can help to send those signals to your brain that you're safe, that you can relax, that you can rest and digest. And even here in this pose, focusing maybe more on the area at the back of the heart. So through your upper back, softening the shoulder blades, letting your head get even heavier. And you can push your hands into the floor nice and slow, lifting yourself back up and coming into one more seated forward fold from here. So I'm going to extend my right leg out in front of me. Keep your left foot in, so maybe bringing it closer in towards you here. Sitting up nice and tall. Find a nice stretch along your spine first. So really anchor down through your heel, lift up, stretch through the crown of your head, activating a little bit of strength along the spine. And then begin with a flat back as you hinge forward from the hips. So you'll notice I'm really not getting very far in this one at all, but I'm just gonna take a few moments here to really lengthen the heart forward, pushing down into the back of my right leg, into the mat. More space through the spine. And then transitioning into that passive forward fold. So relaxing the muscles, relaxing the spine, and folding down. So how do you want to best support yourself in this new season? Transitioning from summer to autumn. And when you think about abundance of love, what comes to mind for you? Walking the hands in nice and slow, lift back up, and you can just kind of open that left knee a little bit wider. Bring your left hand back behind you. We're gonna reach that right arm up and over, press and lift the hips up, big counter stretch here. And we'll release. We'll find that forward fold, head to knee pose on the second side. Left leg extends, right knee bends. And I'm gonna start almost like I'm in my staff pose by extending the arms up. With a flat back, I'm pushing, pressing the back of the knee into the mat, pushing my left heel into the mat. Lifting up a little bit taller. And then maintaining a flat back, I'm just hinging forward to whatever your range of motion is right now. So crawling through the fingertips. If you find it hard to breathe deeply, that's usually a pretty good indication that you're too far into a pose. And relax into the forward fold. Let gravity pull you into it with no effort on your end. Completely passive. Softening even through your jaw. Let's rise back up nice and slow. We'll find that little counter pose. So I just find it easier if I open my right knee, widening my stance a little, right hand back behind you, push into the mat, lift on up. So big side body stretch from your left fingertips all the way down to that left heel. And we'll release. Let's come onto hands and knees. We'll just do a few rounds of cat and cow. As you inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, curl tailbone up. Exhale, round, drop your head, tailbone is heavy, spread through the shoulder blades. And even in this kind of pose, see if you can emphasize the movement through the upper back, through the space of the heart. Take one more full cycle, pushing into the fingertips and knuckles. And we'll come to our puppy pose. I do want to emphasize a little bit of back bending or heart opening, I should say, not necessarily back bending. Walking the hands forward, keep your hips where they are, and you're going to melt forehead down towards the mat. So in yin yoga, we call this melting heart pose, which is really what we're trying to focus on here. I like to do it with my elbows lifted off the mat, and instead I'm focusing on almost pressing my chest down, but without overarching my lower back. So keep the lower belly engaged a little bit. Three breaths here. Sliding into Sphinx pose. Abundance of love. Expand through the chest, roll your shoulders back, lightly pushing into the tops of the feet, and intending your tailbone to reach towards your heels by pushing into your pubic bone so that you're not compressing the area of the lower back. So even if you are going through a challenging time, can we also focus on the abundance of joy and love that we have access to, that is present for us in our lives? This is a key teaching of the autumn equinox. It's gratitude for the bounty. Now I'm going to add a quad stretch here. If this is too much and hurts your lower back, you're going to do your quad stretch with your forehead on the floor. Otherwise, you can maintain the back bend even as you bend into your left knee and reach back to pull that heel in towards you. So bigger heart opener here. Switching sides, release that right foot. And left arm or left hand reaches for the left foot as you pull it in, staying lifted or being grounded down on the mat. Let's release Balasana, child's pose. Big toes together, knees as wide as you would like them to be. Pressing our hips back, intending them towards the heels. They might not make it all the way there, it's totally fine. And softening down. We'll stay here for another 5 deep breaths. Really let yourself melt into the pose. And let's walk our hands in. We're going to lower back onto our backs. Setting ourselves up for reclined pigeon, so you can keep your feet flat on the floor, knees bent as you lower down. Right ankle can cross over the top of that left knee, making this figure 4 shape, and you can reach through with your arms to pull left knee in towards your chest. Try to relax head and shoulders here, so you're only using a little bit of arm strength to maintain the stretch, but not curling yourself up and off the floor. So what are you letting go of in this new season? Release the hold of your left leg, but keep the figure 4 shape of your legs. We'll find a deeper stretch through the outer right hip. So all you're going to do is let that left thigh come all the way down, and maybe your right foot will come down in contact with the floor. What I like to do here is to use my left hand to push my right knee away from me, and then I reach my right arm out to the side. So it's almost a little bit like a spinal twist that we did in the beginning, but we're looking for a bigger stretch into that outer right hip and glute. And let's release. You can uncross the legs and just come back through to center. We'll do those same 2 poses on the other side. Left ankle crosses over the top of your right knee. Reach through with your arms to pull it in. Relax a little more through your upper body. And you can keep the figure 4 shape of the legs, but just let your right foot come back flat to the floor. And we're gonna drop that right thigh all the way over to the right until the left foot comes down, maybe all the way. I'm gonna use my right hand to push my left knee away from me so that my knee stays facing up towards the sky. And I'm gonna expand my left arm out just to help my left shoulder stay down in contact with the mat so that my chest is facing up. And breathing into the stretch here. This class that we're doing is pretty much indicative of what my daily practice has been since Cleo's passing. It's a good reminder that yoga does not need to be strenuous to be effective. Sometimes less is more. And we all need different things at different times. So it's totally fine to adapt your practice to your current needs. Let's release, float back up, and we're gonna come into Shavasana. This will be our final resting pose. So we'll be here for a few minutes of silence and stillness. So take your time to get comfortably settled. And we're using this time of quiet contemplation just to meditate on this idea of an abundance of love. So get comfy and stay here, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. And breathe a little deeper. We'll start to wake ourselves up from Shavasana by moving a little bit. Bringing some energy back into the body. We're just going to move into a little fetal pose, into this little seed pose. So you can just roll over to one side and cradle your head in your arm. Shavasana and corpse pose is representative and symbolic of death, of endings, of natural cycles. With the seed pose is symbolic of the new beginnings that come after, the potential that we have in change. Keeping this intention of abundance of love, let's lift up and come to take a seat. Hands coming together at the heart. Let's close by chanting Om one time together. Inhale. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing this practice with me. Definitely different than my other classes that I normally teach. It's okay. It's okay. I hope you found it supportive. If you are going through a hard time, like I am, I know even for me now, I feel a little bit lighter, feel a little bit more grounded. So hopefully you have that feeling or a similar one as well. And if you just wanted a fall equinox practice, I hope you enjoyed this gentle flow focusing on abundance of love. I promise my other videos are not normally like this. I don't usually cry in them, but it's okay. Please subscribe and hopefully we will practice again together very soon. Thank you.